wait a few minutes to see if we get some people to jump on, which we ultimately will. It's one of the things about these live Zoom sessions. People wander in. We can't lock the door like that professor used to. So let people come on in, and we'll do that. In the meantime, we have the ACE leadership team here, and I will do introductions in about 2 or 3 minutes. We want to get some people in, and we'll go from there. Everybody had a nice week so far?
So far, so good. Midweek. This is a nice break to take.
Heat waves.
Yeah, we're getting temperatures like you guys are used to usually. It was 96 yesterday, 98 today.
I saw that. I was laughing. I have a friend who lives in Manhattan, and he was just carrying on and complaining. And I go, really? Seriously? Because he wanted to move out here. And then
it's not a dry heat in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Nor is it most in the South. It's a wet heat.
Yes. He was very wet.
Career education leadership team is in Arizona, but we are practically bi-coastal, so some of us know what humidity is all about, or at least we have that in our checkered past. So, but if you're going to come to Arizona, you will not miss humidity, but you will definitely get an increase in temperature. Just a different feel. And as Alan says, it's a dry heat.
Oh, yes. So they say. Hot is hot. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Today is Wednesday, June 25th.
Come on.
Yeah, we are already hurtling to shorter days. I hope you have your holiday shopping done. We're almost there.
Really?
I don't know. When people say to me, well, the days are getting shorter, it's rather odd to do that before July has even come.
Fair point. Okay.
Yeah.
Really, what's going on? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to wait 2 more minutes, and then at about 5 after, we'll do some formal introductions. There will be people here. I'm not going to make a habit of introducing guests. That's not what we do. We really want people to feel comfortable that there's no pressure, no rules, just realtors, but you do need to know who we are because this is Agent Career Education. We're a company that is dedicated to helping realtors survive and thrive in this crazy world of real estate agent careers. Okay. And this is the Learning Lounge, and it is a fun, low key, but quite intentionally serious. We're not always serious, but serious issues that are going to get discussed here. And that's the idea. All right. Well, let me ease ourselves into it. And those of you who have joined, we want to welcome you. We're gonna get started, and I would like to first introduce the team. This is the ACE leadership team. Myself, right here, I am Stu Morse. I'm the moderator. I am the Chief Education and Strategic Officer for the company. When and if you ever decide to get involved with some of our courses, you will see my mug on those courses quite often. That's what happens. I'm also a real estate broker, and I've practiced real estate for quite some time. Now, not sure how your screen looks, but on my screen to my far left is Ellen Barsky, who is the Chief Creative Learning Officer for the company. She's the one with the voice and the tone and the insight that makes this truly human. Sometimes she takes some of my dry realtor learning and turns it into stuff that you guys can read and really enjoy. So thank God Ellen is here.
That's my job.
We've got Barry Nicholas, who's the Chief Operations and Admissions Officer. He keeps us all in line. He's another broker. And when I worked with Barry at the same brokerage, he kept me in line because he was the top dog broker. But now we're equal brokers. But Barry has experience in this business and is extremely valuable, not only from his broker in-market experience, but just keeping this company in aligned and pointed directly towards doing the right thing for our students, which is why we're here. And finally, last but certainly not least, is Mr. Fred Burney, who is our Chief Marketing and Communications Officer, without whom we would be shouting into a hurricane. So Fred is incredibly effective for us, but also one of the reasons why we love Fred is that he's got an amazing skill set that real estate agents can and should learn from. This is part of the thing that makes it so successful for people to ramp up and become involved in this business. Okay, a couple of other quick introductory things. Again, thank you all for logging in. We truly appreciate it. Very quickly, why are we here? Well, we are a group of real estate professionals, and some of us are still out there practicing. We're licensed, and we got very disturbed as we discovered that there was an 80% failure rate of agents in our market, and we decided we were going to do something about it. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. But today is not about a sell session, so don't worry about that. We're not going to ask you to sign on the dotted line or get your credit card.
The lounge.
Yeah, the lounge. But if you want to know more about us, we are at agentcareereducation.com. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But what we really want to do is make this a useful resource for you that you can log into when and if you need it, and you can throw out questions and learning. Okay. We did this a lot when we were beta testing our education model several years ago. You know, people say, how long have you been in the business? Well, we've been educating for well over 3 years, and we learned that people love the fact that we can do these live sessions on occasion because it does bring a lot of dimension to our education. Couple other things. We will not share any of this with brokers or team leaders. We have no reason or incentive to do it. This is really for all of you. So please feel comfortable. We like to say no rules, just realtors. And we really mean that seriously.
Yeah.
We've all asked silly questions, right? I mean, that's part of this game. There's no fact book that allows you, how to do it guide. There's all kinds of opinions out there. But this is just a situation where you can feel comfortable asking those questions. Again, I am your moderator. Couple of quick things. Please stay muted until you would like to speak or ask a question. Not because we don't want to hear from you, but I used to do this and you could hear my dog barking in the background. That may still happen, but it just makes for a better meeting. And another thing to think about is you're going to hear points of view. You're going to hear opinions. They may not all be dead on, but they are going to be sincere and they are going to be legitimate. And we ask you to hear those things, and then you can make your judgment as to whether it's something you want to put in your skill set or remember it in terms of your career or not. That's totally cool. We are not insulted by that. All topics are up for grabs in this learning lounge, and it has to do with realtors, the business, clients, brokers. It's all game. But what we want to do is we want to be civil and we want to be decent to each other. Names are not important, okay? We don't use them. We're not here to trash a person or to trash a company. We are not here to judge you. It is a safe place to ask those questions. My goodness, I ask them all. I'm still asking them.
Yeah.
That's part of this business, right, gang? You gotta keep learning. Raise your hand or just jump in again, unmute yourself. And this is supposed to be kind of fun, okay? This is a virtual roundtable discussion. So just think about like there's a big box of Krispy Kreme donuts in the middle. We've all got we're just hanging out before we go out into the field and start to try to make our career that much more successful. Where does this all come from? Well, we have a lot of friends and connections in the business. We gain from their experiences. We are Reddit addicts, so we pull a lot from Reddit. Think about this as sort of almost like a live Reddit session, but you can ask on the fly and in real time. And we also have over 80 collective years of real estate experience that we bring to the party. Again, a lot of great opinions, but it's up to you to see whether this is very, very helpful for you. No matter what, it's unique to the business. It's unique to the category and hopefully unique to your training experience. The agenda is kind of soft. We start with a couple of topics and we'll do that, but we're going to try to leave some time at the end of the session to enable questions and comments and stuff. And we may discover some things that we're going to keep talking about and we'll have to throw to our next learning lounge session. So be it. Okay. So we will not try to ignore anything. We're going to keep this meeting to an hour. There's a hard stop at the end. I will watch that. You've got businesses to run. We promise that you're going to get some useful takeaway out of this. And our goal is to do this about every 2 weeks, maybe twice a month. We may go more frequent, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so that is the idea. All right. Any questions or comments before we get started? I know ACE leadership team, you've heard this before, but want to make sure that everybody's cool. Anything anybody has questions on, et cetera, before we get started?
If anybody's moved on from Krispy Kreme donuts, there is a great donut place called Duck Donuts.
Called what? Where is it?
Duck Donuts. I've moved on from Krispy Kreme.
All right.
Duck Donuts. I've
Duck,
never-
North Carolina.
Yes.
Ooh, that's on the shore, is it not?
It's
Cool.
I think
I
so.
was going to say I'm going to head there after the
I'm
meeting.
pretty
but I
sure it
guess-
is on the shore.
Oh, and I can't drop the Duck Donut plug without telling you what donut to get. It's the bacon in the sun.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Bacon in the sun.
And we have to go to North Carolina to get this donut?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, okay.
I live in Chandler.
Mhm.
Oh,
There's one in Chandler?
Yeah.
I'm dead. That's it.
it's
Diet.
still a long ways. Okay.
All right, Fred. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little bit of fun today. And one of the things that seems to keep popping up on Reddit all the time is the notion of teams. Now, teams have been around in this business, the agent business, for forever, it seems. But it seems to be a topic that keeps popping up. And what we'd like to do is talk a little bit about teams. And just like just about anything you can do in the real estate business as an agent, there's good stuff, there's some not so good stuff, and there's some stuff that, whatever. And we would like to throw some of those issues out for you today so that you can get a feeling for the way we look at teams and how we've experienced them, because they are very much a part of our business, and it looks like they're not going away. And what we mean by teams is a group of individuals under a brokerage, okay, under the umbrella of an existing credible licensed brokerage that has decided to pool their resources as individuals and work together as a group. And now it may be headed by someone that has a broker license. It may not, but that is the idea. And they can run from more often 3 people plus up to how many people might be, smart and effective for that group, depending upon the marketplace. But you see them anywhere. So with that in mind, why don't we start with what we would consider to be some of the advantages of.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah. Jump in,
It
guys.
is.
What would, if you had to sit and tell somebody who's kind of new to the business, let's say under 3 years, and they were considering joining a team, what would you say is good stuff? Barry, go for it.
So if someone's considering joining a team, one needs to look at what would be the benefit of this team, as opposed to just joining a brokerage as an individual agent, right? So looking at those two things, an individual agent or a team. And what would be the advantage of a team? One, now again, I'm using generalities, okay, because every team's going to be set up a little differently. Every brokerage is a little different. So, and keep in mind, the team has to operate within the guidelines of the brokerage, okay? So an advantage of joining a team for, let's say, an agent who's brand new, or even an agent, 2 years, 3 years, maybe kind of having an off year, the income, it's the expectations and the realities do not meet. So this way, if someone's interested in thinking about a team, one of the advantages is possibly lead generation, right? That team lead may be saying, hey, join my team. We promise you 10 buyer leads a month or something like that. Now, that could be an advantage. On the flip side, and I know we're sticking with advantages, but I just want to throw this out there to be thinking,
That's all right.
These leads don't come for free, right? Okay, so there's going to be an adjusted commission split of some sort that will be different from what the commission split would be if you're just with the brokerage, as opposed to being with a team with the brokerage. So one wants to look at, am I getting enough leads to justify maybe a not so generous commission split, right? So what's more important? Do I need immediate leads now? Because if that's the case, commission split's really not that important, because who cares about the split if you don't have anything to divide, right? So if one is really wanting to increase business quickly, and leads are something that said team does promise and follows through with that promise, that might be a good place to start.
Then I would say that, Barry, is it fair? Then you should talk to that team leader and ask them very specifically, I need to see what kind of lead velocity comes into your team and how you distribute those leads to your team members. Is it done equally, or are the more producing people get the better leads? You want to make sure that you're going to get enough to reach your objective. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, very fair. Very fair with that. So.
Okay.
Fred, I think jump right into marketing, but yeah, this is marketing right here, and for any agent, but more specific to a newer agent, let's say 1 to 3 years, joining a team can be instant reach increase. So let's talk about our social accounts. I'm a realtor all by myself. I have only my one audience, but joining a team that can double, triple, quadruple your audience overnight. One thing that I heard you mention, Stu, maybe Barry as well, you can tap into the team's possibly database, social followings, and even ad budget. Those are good things to ask. This is all viable stuff on the table for you to ask this team leader.
That's huge, Fred. You know why? Because newer people don't have that development. I mean, if you're an agent that has just gotten your license within the last year, do you think you have that kind of critical mass and coverage yet? Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah. Excellent point.
So yeah, there's lots of marketing benefits to a team. Now that I think about it, I'm going through some of my notes here. Also, one other thing, we're all not creative geniuses. Every real estate agent isn't automatically equipped with knowing how to use all the latest apps, knowing how to create the listing flyer on the fly from your phone. So I think one thing that's important here, you're essentially getting a shared content engine when you're joining a team. One listing can create 10, 12, 8 different pieces of marketing for you. So that's one thing to think about. You're pulling resources. You mentioned the people pulling everything together. You're also pulling ad spend, and so there's lots of things that you can use to your advantage that you don't have as a lonely agent.
Now, and another way to think about it is when you join a brokerage, a lot of people expect that. Well, we give leads to our agents, and we have a great database and great sphere and great critical mass. But that's a big brokerage. The team is a set of that brokerage, but they may have much more effective, as you said, reach to those people.
Yeah.
So that team, that brokerage is going to be spreading all those resources across how many agents, right?
Oh yeah.
The team is going to be 3, 4, 5, 6 people maybe. So your opportunity to take advantage of a larger share might be much better in a team than you would find at a brokerage. Okay. So
perhaps now Stu and Fred both brought up a good question, or brought up something which leads to a question, which is talk to the team leader and ask these questions, like what's the lead flow like and that type of thing. That's great, but you'll get better information if you talk to the other team members and find out what their because you're not going to have that biased. You're going to have a very honest account.
The team leaders can do a sell job on you, and that's fine. That's
tactic out of the bag right there.
But you talk to someone else on that team and say, okay, this is how I understand the team works. Is this really how it is? However you want to ask. But I think that's very important. It's just like you're interviewing, right? You're interviewing, but you're not interviewing for the job. They're basically interviewing you, and vice versa. So, are you a good fit for this team? Is this team a good fit for you? Maybe, maybe not.
I think that's something that we talk about in some of our other courses. You are interviewing the broker, and you are interviewing that team leader to see if it meets your needs, as you said, Barry. And that is something, it's counter to what everyone in their normal career is exposed to. Usually it's like, I would like this job for this reason, and will you please hire me? Situation here. it is reversed, and you got to go in with that situation. Have you ever experienced anything like that in your career? The reverse, that you have to sell yourself, or actually you're interviewing them for your position. I mean, is that something you bumped into?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, that would be
Okay.
a little bit of a different thing.
Well, see, but that's my point. Most people are not used to that, and unless you know that going in, you're not going to have that advantage. The way to think about this is, particularly once you've gotten your license, but even if you're in this business for several years, what do you need at this point in your career? If you're brand new, chances are you don't have a sphere of influence. Okay. And you'll get exposed to what that means if you're brand new, but you don't have a group of people to tap into to develop your business. You don't have, go ahead, Ellen. Yeah, jump.
I was going to say that one of the benefits of a team is community, because if you're new to real estate, particularly, or you're your first few years, sometimes you do feel like you're a little hung out to dry and you're just out there, the lone voice in the wilderness. And if you join a team, you might feel like, okay, these are some of my people. I mean, granted, you're all working in the same markets, et cetera, but there could be some people there that have be a great mentor for you. Maybe want to ask some questions of yours. And you just feel, I think it would give us a new agent, particularly, a sense of support.
What if you walk into a big brokerage and you're 22 years old and everybody's, a blue-haired lady from the country club, and they're all killing it in terms of sales, and you're this new person. You do feel you're by yourself. You've been through that, where it's great to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. All right, you got a point.
Yeah, well, no, I was just going to tag on to what Ellen said about community. Also, just support. Okay, you have community and support, because a lot of agents, especially in the larger brokerage, newer agents are like, "Ooh, I really don't want to have to call the broker and ask this question," and so, or call a broker hotline and maybe get a question a day or two later. I mean, it just depends on how the brokerage is set up. However, with a team, then you could go directly, as an agent, could go directly to that team leader like immediately and get an answer or something that you may need. However, again, most brokerages, that's also their responsibility. So keep in mind, I mean, really ultimately the responsibility lies on the broker of the brokerage, not the team leader. So regardless, if the team leader gives not the best information out, the broker is still on the hook. So you want to make sure that. Well, I just want to throw in one more thing. As you're interviewing teams, make sure, to the best of your ability, that team leader can answer questions, technical questions, contract questions, things like that you may need in lieu of having to go to the broker support. And maybe the brokerage has a great support too. And if that's the case, that's a double win.
I wanted to add one thing that I may have missed here earlier, but it came back to mind when you were saying we're interviewing these team leads. They may know everything about real estate, how to get leads and everything, but check and be sure that it's a good quality person that you actually want to work with and for. Because if you're not feeling that at the beginning, don't open the door to possibly weeks, months, a year of misery for you, when you can just make these judgment calls at the beginning.
There's a cultural thing. What's the team culture, and are you going to be comfortable? Do you like the leader? Do you like the people? I mean, Ellen, you made a really good point, and you do want to be able to rely upon these people for questions and stuff. Barry, I have a question that's sort of linked to this whole thing. Has a team ever incentivized the group to work together? Meaning, I join a team, I'm brand new, I call one of the team members, and is that team member incentivized to, help me out a little bit? In other words, is there a bonus that goes to the total team at the end of the year that's taken from everybody's revenue? Does that ever happen?
Yes, that does happen. In fact, here's the thing with teams, and this is why it's a good idea if you're interviewing to be on a team, that you check out several, because they're all different, right? And some teams, all the commission goes in and is split out equally. Some Some it's, well, you didn't do anything on this transaction, so you don't get anything. I mean, it just kind of depends. So you want to know going in how the commission is structured. Obviously, I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, but also what are the other perks, right? And so if there is let's say there's a listing and the different team members are all holding open houses on it, and finally, it does sell. Does everybody get to participate in at least a piece of it, or is it just whoever had it listed? I mean, so there's all these different questions one wants to ask, because through your correct, yes, that does happen. The scenario you mentioned, and then also there's the opposite where everyone's kind of, you're on the team, but
It's still one-on-one. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's one benefit you do want to bring up here. The one benefit you do get, and this is so important for businesses. We all have heard of Google, your Google business profile. Well, for a team doesn't have a bunch of different Google business profile. The team has one central Google business profile. So if you're a part of that team and that team has 100 5-star reviews, well, guess what? You just upgraded your reputation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that team ranks high in the Google local map packs, you're going to show up more. So those things are important to realize as well.
All right, let me do a quick summary. So what we're saying is, in terms of the benefits or the positive things about being on a team, they are definitely there. They need to be searched out and discovered as you have conversations with the team leader and potentially or hopefully some of the team members. But it does cost you something. Okay, you don't get all of this for free. Okay. So what we'd like to do now is, when we say negatives, we're not trying to trash teams, but there's a good and a not so. What about some of the not so good things that are realities of teams that you will most likely encounter? Who's got some ideas on that?
Well, really,
Barry
it comes down to one. All of this comes down to one thing, right? Money.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I mean, that shouldn't be the only thing it comes down to, but I mean, bottom line, that is the bottom line.
Yeah.
And because of that, so what is the commission split with the team versus what the commission split would be with the brokerage? Okay, so take that brokerage. Well, if I was just an agent with the broker, what's the commission split? Then what is it with the team? Then at the same time, because the trend is now, and it's been this way for a few years, but it's really trending even stronger. The big brokerages are offering these amazing commission splits, right? But they still have overhead, so they're collecting it monthly out of a fee for each agent. It's a tech fee or it's an admin fee. It's some sort of fee. And so some of the teams and the larger teams, and it's a newer concept, the teams are also charging a monthly fee.
Yep.
So now commission split and monthly fee with the broker, commission split and monthly fee with the team. How do you marry all that and see what's the better deal? What am I getting out of the team? And what, if I'm paying a monthly fee, what is that actually going to? What is the benefit of that, as opposed to how much you're paying to a brokerage? So there's a lot to weigh there on that. And it could be the benefits of the team really don't outweigh the amount of commission you could be doing this on your own. And then you have to really sit back and think, do I really need a team? I mean, what, and go all the way back to the beginning. Why is it that I think I need a team? And really kind of peel the onion back on that and see what you can learn. So.
Personal awareness. That's big, Barry. We've got to know what our strengths and weaknesses are as agents in order to be able to make these choices. And from a marketing, I'm always going to give you the marketing angle.
That's what we need.
That's why you're here, Fred.
If you're an agent and you have marketing chops, if you've got some skill here in online with your communication, with digital marketing, you are going to be frustrated from the get-go. You are immediately going to experience what's called brand blur. You're going to get buried under Team XYZ, and that's where you're going to live. And what you're going to notice also is that you can't be an individual. You cannot grow your own brand. It's hard to do it under a brokerage, but under the blanket of a team, it's going to be even more difficult. A lot of the creative resources are going to be all the same throughout the whole team. You're not going to be able to stand out. The big producers on the team, they hog the photo ops. the not so big producer, you're stuck off in the footer or maybe the header image, who knows? But
You're putting the sign on the front of the property.
Fred, let me talk about, I have a personal experience that may bring to light what you're talking about. And again, the advantages of established branding and all that is great if you've got nothing. So the brand new person needs to know that going in. But I came into a new market, a new city, a bunch of years ago. And I came from a market where I had independently created my own branding and had been a top producer and all that. But I landed in this new market, knew nobody. Now I knew how to start to talk to people and all that, but it was going to take, a serious amount of time to build that up again. It was like being a new agent. So what I did was, through a very kind referral, I met one of the top team producers at a brokerage in the entire state. And I had a chance to ride with him in the car for a day. Now we were both respectful, and he knew that I was not brand new, and I learned about his business and how he did business and all that. And a couple of things rose to the surface. Number one, there was no way I could create my own brand. If I was going to work under him at his team, it was his name and his branding, and boom, all of a sudden that was a disadvantage to what I had built over the years, not what was in that other market, but what I would hope to be able to develop on a very quick, slow. That was taken away from me. Number two, the clients that I met and developed relationships with were most likely going to stay with that team member or that team leader if I decided to go off on my own independently or leave the brokerage. I didn't care for that either because I was developing those relationships. Yes, with some of the benefit of that team, underneath me, but those are my people. I couldn't take them with me. Okay, so I didn't quite care for that. Then there was the money split and all that, which was not so great as well. But for somebody that needed a quick run at building a new career, that could make a lot of sense. Finally, and I'm not going to name any names, I didn't like the dude. I didn't like
Well,
person. God bless him, very successful, and he wasn't a bad. I didn't dislike him. His approach to working in the business was fundamentally different from mine, and I knew that there was going to be some of this over time, and that's that cultural thing that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
I don't know whether I really want to work with this guy. And then, so here's a thought: if you're brand spanking new, it may help you. Or if you decide that you've got a spouse, a partner, an uncle, an aunt, parent, I don't care who it is, or you might be independently wealthy, and you like this team member assistant level kind of thing, then that's perfect for you. But if you decide that because you want to make this a career and develop your own brand and your own independence and be able to switch brokers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, either go in it with a very critical eye or go in it with a short-term period of learning in mind and then plan your exit. That's all I'm saying.
Stu, you brought up an important point, which was about, if leads stay with the team, if you leave, and other things that happen. And it's very important that the team has some sort of written affiliation agreement, just like the brokerage would have, right? So every brokerage you join, there should be some sort of affiliation agreement, and the company policies, what you can, what they expect, that type of thing. The team should have that too, and not all teams do, but they should have some sort of team agreement, which will spell out not only the commissions, but also what the team expectations are. And those expectations, they can't be too far out of the brokerage's expectations, right? I mean, the team could be better, but they can't violate the policies that the broker has.
Those policies and procedures still trump everything.
Exactly. But my point is, so if you're interviewing teams, make sure and ask, right? Can I look at, may I please have a copy and for my review of your affiliation agreement, not only with the brokerage, which you would probably get during that interview anyway, but as well as with the team.
Got it.
Yeah.
That avoids unpleasant surprises later.
From the brokerage standpoint, we don't like unpleasant surprises on any level. And and that's one, when it comes to to agents, commissions, agents, and fees and other things like that, it has to be clearly spelled out prior to any affiliation whatsoever.
Very good. Fred, it looks like you had a point you wanted to make.
You mentioned we mentioned lead gen as a positive thing, but in the same breath, we were kind of also leading towards, how does the team lead disperse that stuff? Well, that's exactly where I'm going to get to. Lead gen is also a negative when it comes to teams, because there's often lead tug of war. So who gets the lead? There's
within the team, you mean?
Yeah, within the So, one thing that leads to this is that I recently read that teams don't give each team member their own little CRM you have a central CRM that you get to use. Everybody's using the same one because the team leads are going to pay for one piece of software, not seats for each one of you. So it's whoever's with it, whoever's participating, or whoever's in the good graces of the team lead. That's what happens. So for lead gen tug of war, that's going to happen when it comes to teams.
Very interesting.
Because again, this is not a slam dunk thing. People get into the business and they go, "Oh, I'm trying to team." Blah, blah, blah. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. It's generally thought of as a fairly good thing, and there are very good benefits, but they have to be, and there's negatives. But you have to really have a good self-awareness of your skills, where you are in your career, what you want to do eventually, how long you'll stay in a team, whether you stay there forever or whether you want to avoid it. I say we have opinions. I will voice my opinion, okay? And feel free to say, Stu, you're out of your mind. Team members are junior people in the realtor culture. I'm sorry, but that's my perception. The people with real career superstars are the team leaders or the independent agents that are out there killing it. And it's hard to get there. And that's why we've created our company, to help people understand how to get there. Teams are great, but as long as you are a team member, you have relegated the perception of yourself among the realtor community and among the client community as a little bit less than the superstars out there. Now, is that a horrible thing? No, it's not. And it may be perfect for some people, but be aware of that. It's one of the reasons why I just decided it really wasn't for me, because I didn't want to have to eventually extract myself away from my being associated with the team. Even a very good thing, because then I was going to have to recreate branding and tell people why I did it and all that stuff. So there's good stuff, certainly. And there's negative stuff, but understand clearly that there are questions you must ask, and you must make those judgments. Is there anything that we might have missed as we've talked about this whole team issue? Freddie, go for it.
I maybe it was from Reddit, but somebody was asking something about an exit clause. How do you make a getaway from a team, and can you make a getaway with your leads or with your video content or with your creative, or does that stay with the team? Those are touchy subjects that I may not know the answer to.
Well, you know what? It's not unlike having a buyer-broker agreement, right, Barry?
It goes back to just making sure that all these items are buttoned up in any type of team agreement you have. And this is true. I mean, really, come on. This is true for anything across the board. If you're entering into any type of an agreement with somebody, I mean, make sure all these things are buttoned up. And Fred brings up a really good point that I hadn't really thought of, and that's some of the marketing, the intellectual assets, that the graphics and different things. Those obviously would belong to the team. But what if you created one that you liked and you had the team logo on it? Now is it now theirs, or can you reuse it and take the team logo? I mean, there's just all these little.
That's really important, though. That would be a surprise.
Yeah, and so having all that in writing up front, and again, it just goes back to that in the beginning. If you are comfortable what you're entering into, and you understand the rules of the game, and you think the team's the thing for you, then by gosh, go for it. And as long as there's a way that if you decide I want to be an independent agent, I see a different opportunity somewhere else, something like that, you can easily move on from the team. That's great too.
Mhm.
A little bit of advice here. If you do this, students, don't expect the team leader to be your best friend when it's time for you to move on to another thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
That is so true. Same with the broker.
Yeah,
Mhm.
or broker. Yeah, and it doesn't mean they're barracudas and they hate us agents and all that. It's far from the truth. But as Barry says, make sure you're very clear who owns what, who gets what when you leave. And chances are, when you find it's time to go, you're not going to get everything. Just it's probably better just to get out on your own and make it happen, because by that time you're going to be very adept at the skills it takes to develop a sphere of influence. You know, there are going to be clients that will love you to death, I hope, and will say to that team leader and or that broker, I want to work with Ellen. I don't care what your agreement is. I won't work with you. I want to work with Ellen. And
Mhm.
you can foster those agreements or those relationships to protect yourself a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to be mean or subterfuge is going on. But again, this is your career and you need to protect it.
Mhm.
So any
Agreed.
litmus tests that one could do before they sign on the dotted line?
Well, I suggest talking to the other team members.
Yeah,
And,
that's what I was going to say.
and here's the thing. So agents who are in their, they could be brand new, or they could be in that 6 month, maybe 3 year period of being in the business. They will start to receive emails, phone calls from team leads, because the team leaders start recruiting out of this pool first.
Mm.
Okay, because they feel that this group probably needs some sort of a boost, and a lot of team leads will actually track other agents' production through MLS, kind of see, they're struggling, but I really like that person. Maybe they'd like to come over to my team. So as an agent in that scenario, just be prepared to have team leads reach out to you and recruit you. Which, I mean, it's a form of flattery to be recruited, but they're also doing it for a reason. So
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
so keep that in mind.
Mhm.
All right. Well, as the moderator, I have to say time out because I got to keep us on the
We'll
clock.
talk forever, Stu.
We may come back and as we
Mhm.
talk to our students, there are going to be some anecdotes and issues that arise in the another learning lounge. But this is great. I love it. And this team thing, I hope all of you that encounter this video are able to get a little bit more information on how to operate in terms of making decisions for a team and with the team. The next thing I want to just throw out to the group is something that we hold very dear to our heart, and that is the nature of education. We want to make sure that people understand that. This may be a little bit less, back and forth in terms of issues, but one of the reasons why we put together ACE is because we were, as people in the business, we were very disturbed by the notion that 80% of agents that get their license within the first 2 to 3 years quit the business. And we said to ourselves, whoa, why is that happening? There's broker training, there's coaching out there, there's mentors, there's this and that. Why is that failure rate? 8 out of 10 people are gone. Why is that happening? Well, number one, the conclusion is the training is not effective. It's not working. It is not working. There would be a higher win percentage if it was better. And one of the things that we discovered was, and I'm going to open this up and throw it to the group because there's lots of ways to think about this, is that particularly at the broker level, okay, you get your license, as Ellen says, you get your shiny new license and you get out. You're excited. It's really good. And you join a brokerage that is very well known and they've got an established training program. You jump into that and guess what? You're still part of that 80% failure potential. Why? Why is it happening? Thoughts? Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, one on the brokerage training, and I'm sure many of them are very, very good. Okay, but they're tailored towards one, keeping the broker out of trouble, right? So we have to make sure, the contract, everyone understands contracts, and they understand the code of ethics, and they understand other legalities and rules and regulations and things like that, and things not to do, and that type of thing. So that's a big part of it, and it's a very important part of it. However, how much money does that make you as an agent? it keeps you from losing money, but
Right.
but it may not help you make a lot of money without some additional training. So training outside of what the brokerage offers, but again, depending on what the brokerage offers, would be dependent on what it is that one would be looking for. If that
So
makes
it's
sense.
to say that compliance kind of overrules.
Yeah, compliance will always be the top line.
It's
thing.
risk avoidance, right, Fred? I mean, isn't that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah.
That's what Barry said.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're getting at here.
Mhm.
And we get it. I mean, the broker, not the agent, as you well know from training, the broker's the one that takes on that risk. You know, agents are working underneath the legality or the legal accountability of the broker.
Exactly. And what a lot of the general public as well as agents don't understand, the perception of the brokerage is just making all this money. And so and they have the majority of the risk. They still have the majority of the risk, but they're not making that much money. The brokerages don't make, the bottom line of the brokerages continues to shrink.
Yeah.
But their risk does not. So
Right.
so that's why they're so heavy on this compliance and that type of thing, because yeah, they carry insurance. I mean, and the agents should be covered with the insurance, but still, that
Brokerages recruit so hard because they know there may be something missing in the training.
is it, or did you say what? I'm sorry, what was the question?
I'm sorry, now I forgot the question I asked.
Well,
I think you were saying,
is that why they
always
recruit
recruiting
so
people?
Yes, they're always recruiting.
well, that's the brokers. Actually, there's a misconception on this too. The designated broker or who's ever running that office, their main job is to recruit, because without agents, there's
You
no
got
bottom line,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
that's their main job, is to recruit. Now, this is a whole nother subject, which we can do several meetings on, but
Might have to do a
but that business,
for this one.
Yes.
that brokerage model business model has changed dramatically, where commission splits are so generous, but there's also a monthly fee that feeds the bottom line. So that's something that, again, that's a whole nother topic.
Well, what we're all getting at here is the notion that brokers are in the transaction business. They're in the business of bringing in revenue to keep the doors open. They are not in the training business.
100%, Stu.
Right? I mean, if they did nothing but training, they would close. Okay, so they offer training, and I've talked to brokers. I've been one. I am one. I've talked to team leaders, and this has come up in some of my interactions on Reddit, where those people say, well, the training I do makes them better agents, and therefore there's more revenue and more transactions. Yeah, so be it. And if your training is good, maybe you're a team that's really crackerjack at this, and your team members are really doing well, or a brokerage that is killing it. Great. But right now in the business, 80% of the agents out there are failing out. So those brokers, those team leaders that are really doing it well are the exception to the rule. Exception to the rule. And this is not talked about very much when people get into the business. And we found this terribly disturbing, because we watched at our other brokerages where we've worked in our careers, people leaving because of these issues. So we call it broker-centric training.
Yes.
Okay. And that's what you get. And what we've tried to create with ACE is what we call agent-centric training, meaning we are not in the brokerage business. We care. We really care, but we don't really care that brokers are overly that successful, because we have focused on agents. Now, I've had agents say, well, I'm going to get myself a coach, and I've actually considered that in my career. And I want to talk a little bit about coaching too. Coaching is expensive. Oh my God. The reason why I was triggered to think about a coach is because I wasn't making enough money. And then they're going to get me to spend thousands of dollars for whatever. Do what I say, and you'll be a top producer. Yeah, sure. If it was that easy, everyone would flock. But I throw coaching out at you guys. Any thoughts or experiences directly related to that?
Well, I will say this before we get into the actual specific experiences. I think right now, presently in real estate, the terms education, training, and coaching have all just blurred together.
Yeah.
And from an online search perspective, the one that just keeps winning is coaching. And really, it's education, it's training. That's what they're doing. But it all depends on how you want it done to you. Is really everything.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry to put it that way, but I mean that's really, you know, what Stu was getting at. If you want to be an insignificant number in a big group, you know, and go do your group coaching, you know, that coach, we'll call him a celebrity coach, for lack of a better word. It's not, I'd be surprised if they can say your name 30 days from the moment you sat in that group coaching with them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think the other option for people, and we'll probably talk about this at length in some other Learning Lounge sessions, but we as a group of real estate professionals we like mentoring. We really do. And I think that what we like to say is the old school mentor has sort of ridden off into the sunset, to use a metaphor. When I started my business, I was extremely fortunate. I had a chance to link up with a mentor. This was a woman that was 20 years older than I was at the time, and she'd been in the business at least that much longer. And I rode in the darn car with her for 2 to 3 months, and I heard every single phone call and heard all the swear words and heard all the accolades and felt her pain when she didn't get the listing and celebrated when she closed the deal. But that kind of intensive learning doesn't take place. People don't do this mentoring thing anymore. Brokerages don't incentivize mentors, and if they're out there, they're going to take a cut of your commission just like the team leaders do. It's a hard thing because that training that used to, I think, improve the odds of a newer realtor staying in the business has gone away. Barry, you're nodding in the affirmative. Is that your experience as well?
Well, yeah, but I was going to throw out something that, I mean, you have coaching options and you have team options and you have all these options, right? On how you want to work in your real estate business. And all this is great. And it's great to, learn and glean as much information as you can. But the bottom line is it all comes down to you and how motivated are you to get out and do this, because that's really all that matters is you and how you're going to go about this. And teams are great. They can be a crutch. Being on your own can be scary. So there's just a lot of different things that you need to weigh on making a decision. So same with the big coaching. Do I want to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but I didn't do anything with it? So again, it's up to you.
Right.
Barry, you're knocking on something, and we're going to have to wind down the meeting pretty soon. It really comes down to having a level of self-awareness about who you are, what skills you have, where you're going in this real estate career of yours. We do believe truly that being a real estate agent is a higher calling. It's a wonderful thing when you do it well, and clients love how we can help them with, which is most likely the most expensive and biggest investment of their entire life.
Yes.
We really do play a role that is very, very important. And it's not going away with AI. It's not. The process may get better with AI, but the relationships that make this whole thing work, that's not going away in the near future. So what we believe is that the newer agent particularly, but even the agents that's looking to reignite their career, the agent that has good self-awareness and is taking proactive steps to improve their career and having good understanding of where to go, those are the ones that are going to win in this business. And that's part of the philosophy of our organization. Hey, look, I'm looking at the center of the table and the duck donuts are gone. You know what that means?
I didn't get any.
Oh, sorry, Barry. Fred was hungry.
That's a shame.
Yeah, sorry.
What was it called? Bacon in the sunshine?
Bacon in the sun.
Bacon in the sun.
Great.
Hey, you know what? We want to thank the people that signed on, and we also want to say to those of you who are finding us later after this meeting on YouTube, we welcome you to join future Learning Lounge meetings. These are fun. We hope you find that this is helpful in your career, and that's why we're here. You will be able to find more information about our learning opportunities on our website at agentcareereducation.com. You can go there and you can look for us on social media. Our YouTube presence is almost up and running. It's something that we just didn't pay attention to right away and talk about. We are totally aware that needs to happen. But we've had a good time today, and we want to thank you for being here. Again, look for us in another couple of weeks. We'll probably reach out to you who are on our email list with some more information on that. And on behalf of Ellen, Barry, Fred, and myself, I want to say thank you from the leadership team here at ACE. Here truly to help you survive and thrive your good career in real estate. Fred's got something to say.
Before we leave, I'd love to share the email address with everybody. If anyone has suggestions, if you have suggestions, things that are just burning that you want to know about, that you want to learn about, bring them to the Learning Lounge. And the way you can do that is by sending an email to ideas@agentcareereducation.com. We can't wait to tackle it.
Yeah. Fred, I'm so glad you said that. I didn't have that note written down. Write stuff down. All right, everybody. We're out there to help you out, and we are looking very much forward to the next time we will see you in the ACE Learning Lounge. Be good, be safe, and be wonderful for your clients. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Is it over?
I guess so.
Okay.
Bye, Barry.
Bye.